I want to go ahead and start this by saying that if you're going to tell me not to be political or that you don't come to the channel for my politics or anything like that, you're going to be wasting your breath. Because, quite frankly, as an American citizen, I have the right to an opinion on all these sorts of things. And as such, being a YouTuber, I will gladly and happily express my opinions about those things. Now, yesterday, as I'm recording this, January 6th, some pretty disgusting things took place in the nation's capital over in Washington, D.C. As a lot of you know, Joe Biden won the presidential election. And in Georgia, we've been waiting with bated breath to see if the Democratic Party would be able to take the House and the Senate. Basically, it did, and people were quite upset because they think that the election was fraudulent in some sort of way. And the reason that people think this is because the president was claiming this. The current president, Donald John Trump, basically, since about 5 or 6 in the evening on November 3rd, during the primary election, the vote counting, he was crying that the election had been frauded somehow. He was saying that, or he was saying even before the election actually began, that if you got rid of the ballots, that there wouldn't be a transition of power because basically he would win. So he was saying that if people are voting and votes are being counted, the election would be fraud somehow. And so for the last 2 months, he's convinced 70 plus million Americans that the election was somehow tampered with. There are sirens outside my house. But what I don't really understand about that is how do you, with no evidence, convince so many people? And it's simple, because Trump supporters do not seem to be well-adjusted people. They worship a politician as if he were their messiah. You know, they bear his name on almost all of the things that they own. They swear by everything he says. They yearn for his approval in an unsettling way. They idolize him. And as a result, they have come to see him as the victim, or somebody who's being bullied by the political system, by democracy at this point. This is just an election that he lost, but it can't be that simple. Dead people voted for Biden. Immigrants voted for, illegal immigrants voted for Biden, stuff like that, that just makes absolutely no sense. That's the sort of thing that they're hanging on to keep their president in power. And Trump has been wholeheartedly enabling and encouraging it. So yesterday, January 6th, people stormed the Capitol building because they were upset that Trump had lost the election. They showed up and forced their way in there. And I think the most interesting thing about that is that the same people that were saying build the wall went and did this. So obviously the wall wouldn't really do that much good if you can just start climbing walls. But they went in. There was a guy that had a Camp Auschwitz hoodie on. There was a guy with a white supremacist tattoo. These are very upset, angry, and probably largely racist people storming into this government building, but it's being labeled as a protest. They set the damn building on fire. They went in there, started breaking things and stuff like that, but it's a protest. And the most frustrating thing about this is the people that are drawing a false equivalency between this and the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020. People are saying that Trump should be punished for inciting and encouraging what was happening, but they also, or people on the other side are saying that the same thing should be enforced for people like AOC or anyone who in any way was on the side of Black Lives Matter last year. The difference is Black Lives Matter spawned from a desire to have equality, the desire to be treated the same as the man next to you, even if the man next to you is a different color than you. It spawned from the injustice that comes behind these killings of young black people in America all the time. Even kids. I mean, Trayvon Martin and Elijah McClain were kids. You can't pretend that they weren't. They didn't even do anything, but they got shot and killed, and there was no justice served. Breonna Taylor was asleep. George Floyd had his hands cuffed behind his back and was on the ground. He posed virtually no threat. And I could go on. It's just, we marched, we protested, we rioted because there was injustice being done, and it's still being done. I mean, Derek Chauvin made bail, and it's just like, really? Are you kidding? But the difference between that and this is spawned because people want a lawful election overturned. The guy that they like lost the election, and so they're upset. And so they stormed into the Capitol building, and it's just hard to see what's happening and see how easily they were able to get into the building and not think about what would have happened if everybody there had been black, or if it had been a lot of people marching with Black Lives Matter, because there were a lot of white people, Asian people, Hispanic people marching with Black Lives Matter. But because of the nature of that idea, even in my own town, cops showed up with riot gear and tear gas and rubber bullets, ready to neutralize threats. But here, a federal government building in the nation's capital, people could just get in. They just got in. And I find that very interesting. And apparently, some people involved were shot and were killed. And as unfortunate as that is, I would never, encourage, or not encourage, but I would never make light of the death of somebody, because it's going to impact other people regardless of you or your own actions. If you were to pass away, it would impact people that had nothing to do with what you were doing that got you killed in the first place, or what you did in your life that may have been unseemly or unsavory. However, I can't help but imagine that these people would still be alive had they not been protesting. And you could say the same about people that were marching with Black Lives Matter, but the nature of these movements are so wildly different. Black Lives Matter, we didn't storm the Capitol building. We didn't show up at the nation's capital trying to force our way into a federally owned and protected building. That didn't happen, because we would have been shot and killed. But I didn't see any tear gas or riot gear or rubber bullets being deployed here. I didn't see any National Guard. I didn't see any curfews being enforced by the cities or anything like that for this. If you're going to have that same energy, or if you're going to have that type of energy for that, have it for this as well. There's all these like say her name movements and stuff like that. Say their names. And it's just like, yes, it is unfortunate that they were killed, but they were killed doing something that was motivated by hate and anger. They probably didn't like the fact that the Blues won the election and were quite upset about that. Now, not every Republican is racist. Obviously. I would never say something like that. But I do think that anybody who supports Trump to this level of ferocity and vitriol, and is this ravenous in their actions and their thinking, probably doesn't like brown-skinned people all that much. So there's a limit to how bad I can feel for people that got hurt in this whole situation. I remember there was a guy that I saw on Twitter, and he had like a little bit of a blood mark on his hand. He's like, this could be you or your kid. Somebody has to do something. And I'm like, somebody has to do something about what? Also, I probably wouldn't mind if that was me or my kids. It doesn't look like it hurts that bad. In fact, I lose more blood when I bang my knee on something, But I just think that this has been one of the most embarrassing days in recent national memory, recent national history. It is disgusting. The display of inhumanity that we all had to watch, basically, is inexcusable on almost every single level. I can't imagine what excuse you could even try to make for it. It's just terrible. Although we can be and we are better than this as a country. This sort of thing. The worst thing about Trump having been president is that it allowed and enabled this type of behavior, these types of thoughts in people. Anyone that was the least bit racist or homophobic or sexist or misogynistic or xenophobic or anything like that, it was being fostered by the administration. It was okay to feel like that because a president feels like that. In fact, if you felt anything different than that, then you were weird. Then you were out of the ordinary. And that's the worst thing about Trump having been president, is that that sort of thing was okay. However, I do believe that the future is brighter than this, and that over the next 4 years, maybe 8 years, we will get things back under control in a way where we can make racism bad again. You know, that would be nice. Make racism bad again, Merba. That has a ring to it. I don't think I would make that merch, but I would definitely buy it if I saw it. But everyone out there, be safe, be kind to each other, and we're going to get through this together. All that being said, I'll see you next time.